Good evening and welcome to the November 23rd, 2015 Mayor and Council Work Session. Tonight we have two topics on our agenda. The first is an annual briefing from the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee and the Gaithersburg Book Festival Committee. And then the second is the annual briefing from the Educational Enrichment Committee. So I'm going to turn it over to Shelley Williams to start us off on cultural arts.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here tonight. I'm actually going to turn this over to our committee members, but I would like to direct you to the TVs because we do have a PowerPoint.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Kowalczyk, and I am a member of the Gaithersburg Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. I have the pleasure to be joined tonight by Becky Malone, Committee Vice Chair of the Gaithersburg Book Festival Committee, who will be providing the Book Festival portion of our committee updates. The Cultural Arts Advisory Committee was formed in 2001 from the previous Arts Advisory Committee, the Gaithersburg Council for the Arts. For a number of years, the committee included the Arts in Public Places Subcommittee. Last year, the Art in Public Places Committee was absorbed into the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee. The Arts Advisory Committee also includes the Gaithersburg Book Festival Committees, an ad hoc committee that fosters and promotes the Gaithersburg Book Festival. It is the mission of the Arts Advisory Committee to advise the mayor and council and city staff on arts programs and facilities in order to enhance the quality of life in Gaithersburg by promoting a cultural, social, and economic climate in which artistic expression and creative excellence can flourish and be developed to their fullest potential. The committee is provided with the key charge to review and update the long-range plans for the cultural arts and serve as its advocates, evaluate and recommend cultural programs and facilities, and develop opportunities for public art. The committee completed the plan and presented to the mayor and city council in December 2006. The committee periodically reviews and updates the plan. From this ongoing process, we have identified 5 priority goals: to create well-planned, high-quality, and sustainable cultural facilities, to provide diverse cultural and artistic opportunities that are accessible to all ages, all abilities, and all incomes, to increase awareness of the role the arts play in our community's identity and character, to create a dynamic arts environment that is an economic energy for the city, and to enliven the city through a robust public arts program. The committee is actively involved in providing new ideas and building on existing successful programs. And there are many vehicles for achieving the goals we've identified, such as city cultural facilities provide diverse fee-based programming. Performing arts programs attract people to our community where they spend money on everything from meals to parking, and that fuels our economy. Free festivals and other events make the arts and culture accessible to all. Humanities programs such as the Book Festival and the Community Museum's popular Tuesday Topics lecture discussion program increase awareness of arts and culture and help make Gaithersburg a destination. Through networking with arts organizations, businesses, and community organizations, committee members continue to help facilitate community engagement and build alliances in support of city arts programs. Members' personal and business connections have helped create a strong volunteer base for city events, and they have helped build relationships within our diverse community through their individual and varied contacts. In 2014, the Arts Barn and the Kentlands Mansion joined creative forces to become Arts on the Green, the City of Gaithersburg premier center for the performing and visual arts. Patrons enjoy more cultural programming choices, centralized ticketing, and greater opportunities to engage through outreach. City of Gaithersburg residents can receive an Arts on the Green gold card for special benefits such as convenient ticket exchanges, early notification of special events, and more. The new programs offered include 3 tracks of music including jazz, Americana, classical, and a growing relationship with the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. Rotating exhibits of the region's most accomplished visual artists, professional and community theater, dance, and magic, arts education programs for preschoolers to adults, and programs designed just for families. The arts are now an integral component of the city's special events, and their inclusion has increased attendance and patron enjoyment. The most recent Oktoberfest reflects the success of this strategy. The festival's 4 main stages, multiple community stages, arts and crafts vendors, living statues, jugglers, and aerialists broadened the appeal of the event and attracted a record attendance of approximately 35,000 people. At last year's Celebrate Gaithersburg, area artists participated in a steampunk-themed art exhibit that combined history, fantasy, and creativity. Costume artists displayed themed arts and crafts, and the Arts Barn managed a community chalk art project featuring the city's own steam locomotive. A robust schedule of entertainment, including high-profile performing artists like Seldom Seen, brought new audiences to Gaithersburg. This year, the Community Museum continued to expand programming at the Old Town Museum site and the Latitude Observatory. With the purchase of 2 telescopes, more skywatching events are being held at the observatory. The first such program was at Heritage Days with solar observations. The museum launched a new program series, Discovery Days, which includes train days and programs geared toward families and adults such as Valentine making, old-fashioned games and toys, and local geology. The museum partnered with the Children's Summer Concerts and created Discovery Thursdays with crafts and activities that reinforce the themes presented at the concerts. The popular Tuesday Topics series, now called Museum After Hours, intended for adult audiences, presented a provocative range of topics including life in Civil War camps, slavery in Maryland, and how the Metropolitan Branch changed Montgomery County. The Arts in Public Places program commissions artists to produce and integrate public works of art into our urbanizing community and works to create a sense of place and pride. Members of the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee oversee the program and advise staff. The public art process is a multi-staged endeavor. Potential sites are evaluated for a public art installation based on a set of established criteria, such as visibility, accessibility, ease of maintenance, funding issues, and community support. Artwork is selected through an open public art competition known as a call to artists. From the entrance, finalists are selected by the committee to develop site-specific art, and the winners are chosen to receive the commission. If applicable to the project, members of surrounding communities are invited to participate in this process. Additionally, property owners may opt to use the services of the arts consultants who would then propose specific artists and projects to the committee for their approval, such as the artwork proposed for Downtown Crown. Recently completed projects include number 14 steam locomotive, a working bike rack located in Old Town Park Plaza, Gallo, an abstract sculpture, and the representational box turtle installed in Parkland's neighborhood of Watkins Mill. Inner Being, a monumental bronze located on Fields Road in downtown Crown. Projects currently in process are Archstone in Old Town. Silver Spring artist Jay Carpenter is creating a life-size bronze sculpture of our city's late mayor, Ed Bohr. Public art amenities such as entry gates and benches are being considered for the new renovated Constitution Gardens and Diamond Farms Skate Spot, Observatory Park, Watkins Mill, Downtown Crown, and the Vistas development at Orchard Park. And now I would like to turn the report over to Becky Malone, author recruitment lead for the Gaithersburg Book Festival Committee, for updates on that committee's amazing work.
Thank you, Beverly. The Gaithersburg Book Festival Committee works cohesively year-round to recruit dozens of high-quality authors, coordinate public relations and marketing efforts that extend to the entire Mid-Atlantic region, develop partnerships, bring in sponsors, coordinate a teen writing competition, develop children's programming, provide free writing workshops, and deliver a monthly e-newsletter, all culminating in a positive and inspirational literary experience for 20,000 attendees. Now coming up on its 7th year, the GBF has gained a reputation for being the premier literary event in Maryland and has put the city of Gaithersburg on our nation's cultural map. Last year's event brought approximately 20,000 visitors from around the Mid-Atlantic region, showcased over 100 authors from states all over the country, offered multiple free writing workshops, entertained, educated, and inspired children, drew over 300 volunteers, and for the 5th year in a row captured the attention of C-SPAN's Book TV, who broadcast live the entire day. In partnership with Politics and Prose, the Friends of the Library, the Gaithersburg Library, and other committed partners, the Gaithersburg Book Festival Committee has coordinated ancillary author events featuring authors such as Brian J. Jones, David Baldacci, Jeffrey Deaver, Ricky Skaggs, Frederick Forsyth, all of these free to the public. The committee is proud to put on such high-quality cultural events in Gaithersburg. Some standout comments from festival attendees include, "My daughter and I love this event. I tell friends, family, and colleagues about it via social media. It is very impressive. This is such a boon to have as the annual event in Gaithersburg. It seems to get better each year and is certainly putting Gaithersburg on the map for a major cultural event. Thank you, Gaithersburg, for investing in this event. We love it. Had a wonderful day, short lines, loved variety of authors, loved the grounds, great exhibitors. We are hooked." Mark your calendars now for our next festival being held on Saturday, May 21st, 2016. And now let me turn it back over to Beverly Kowalczyk.
Thank you, Becky. Moving forward, the key goals for next year are to develop strategies for continuing efforts to foster a dynamic arts community in Gaithersburg, promoting Gaithersburg as a cultural destination, and expanding the use of social media and the Gaithersburg Arts and Events mobile app to engage audiences. Thank you very much for your attention. Do you have any questions?
I'm going to start. First off, thank you both. I believe these programs are tremendously important for defining our city as more than just a collection of streets and addresses, as a cohesive culture. Beverly, you've been part of the Cultural Arts Advisory Committee for a number of years, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, thank you for your service. And you're also a member of the Community Chorus.
It's now called the Gaithersburg Chorus.
The Gaithersburg
Yes.
Chorus. So,
We've upgraded.
if someone were interested in the Gaithersburg Chorus, where might we find them performing soon?
Well, we welcome new members. We'd love to have a lot of new members, and we are located for our rehearsals over at the Bohr Activity Center. We practice on Tuesdays from 7:30 to 9:30, and we will be having our winter concerts on December 8th at Asbury and December 12th at Gaithersburg High School at 7:30. So I hope to see a lot of you there. We'd love to have you join us.
Excellent. And Becky, I happen to know very, very well when you started with the Gaithersburg Book Festival because it was day one.
That's right.
Day one, you came out to volunteer for that committee. Probably 7.5 years ago, something like that. And you've done a Carolyn's holding up, what was it, 8?
8.
8 years ago. Carolyn, for those who couldn't hear on the microphone, Carolyn held up 8 fingers, 8 years. Okay. And you've done a fabulous job recruiting authors. Can you, and among other things, can you repeat the date of the next Gaithersburg Book Festival?
Absolutely. I hope
These are tough
everybody joins
questions.
us. Saturday, May 21st, 2016.
All right. And
The weather would be perfect again.
It will be.
Right? So we
I'm
already
not
know-
talking about the weather until that day. That's the way I do it. But if someone wanted to find out more about the book festival, where might they find it on the internet?
Well, the best place to look on the internet for information about the book festival is our website, which is www.gaithersburgbookfestival.org, and it lists our featured authors who are already confirmed for next year. And there's an application for sponsors and for presenting authors on there as well right now.
Yeah. I happen to know not all of the authors we've confirmed for next year are on there yet. We're working on that. But you also can, for those who are curious as to what it looks like, you can go to YouTube and see lots of videos of terrific author presentations from the book festival. Who else has questions? Ryan.
Well, after the mayor's hard-hitting cross-examination, I just have a couple of follow-up questions. First, let me commend all of you on your work, both staff and volunteers who do such an amazing job. And I think it's really been palpable, the evolution of our cultural arts programming over the last handful of years. I mean, we've always had great programming, but we've taken it to just a totally another level between Arts on the Green and the Book Festival and the other programs that we're doing to expand our utilization of the museum, all of the things that we're doing. It really does, as the mayor said, sort of come together and sort of interwoven to talk about the culture of arts that we have here in Gaithersburg. So kudos to all of you, and thank you for all that you do. You don't always get thanked publicly for all of those countless hours of work, and we really, really do appreciate it. A couple of specific questions about the presentation. There was a brief mention of a burgeoning partnership with the BSO, and I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about that.
Oh, sure. Last year, staff at the Arts Barn and the Kentlands Mansion worked with Jack Fishman, who is with the BSO, in trying to develop a closer relationship by bringing their artists to the Arts Barn. So we started off our classical season last year with Mount Vernon Brass. It's the brass quintet led by their primary bassoonist. And this year, coming up in February, we have their primary violinist, Karen Brown. I knew I would get that in a moment.
Well done.
So we are bringing those artists to Gaithersburg, and we are hoping to continue a sort of shared marketing. They put our program on their website, and we certainly sent something out about Facebook about their artist coming to the Arts Barn and the Kentlands Mansion.
That's outstanding. I vaguely recall a conversation I had with the CEO of the BSO when I was lucky enough to find myself sitting next to him at a dinner in Annapolis about a year ago, and I was singing the praises of our cultural facilities in Gaithersburg. I doubt that had anything to do with the new partnership, but I'm so glad to see now that it's actually happening, because I do think that's a great opportunity. I know that they have been really assertive in trying to expand their market of folks who enjoy their services as well. So that's great. I'm glad to see that, and I hope we'll see more of it in the coming months and years. And then the other question I had was with respect to some of the programs we're doing at the Community Museum, particularly like the after hours that used to be called, what it used to be called, Tuesday Topics.
Tuesday Topics.
What are we seeing in terms of attendance at those types of events? Is it pretty good? Is it sold out?
Sold out.
All right,
Denise
staff
Croaks.
is saying it's sold out. That's terrific. Excellent. And I think those were the only other questions I had. There's been some very brief discussion about the installation in Old Town, the train statue that is also a bike rack. There's been some initial discussion, I think, with some council members with staff as to how that's being used. Have we seen a lot of folks actually using it as a bike rack? Does it require some additional signage to let people know that in addition to being a work of art, it's also a bike rack? I don't know the answers to those questions. It may not need that, but
Let me do some investigation and get back to you.
I think some of us are a little curious about that, just because we want to make sure that folks know that even though it's beautiful to look at, it's also utilitarian.
Right, okay.
So,
Well, Becky, since everybody asks you such softball questions, can you give me the middle names of all the authors?
Well, I cannot. I can give you the middle name of one, though, that we haven't announced yet, but is confirmed, Annette Gordon-Reed. So there you go.
But in all seriousness, you all need to be congratulated. Gaithersburg is in the rec department is second to none, and I've said that for all the years that I've been involved. With the Winter Lights and Oktoberfest and the parade and, Gaithersburg Day and all that. I mean, we really do a good job for a city, and I don't think anybody does any better. And the book fair is just one of the better, the enterprises we've put on in the last few years. And so, congratulations for all the hard work you all done.
Well, yeah, I happen to be the liaison to the committee for the last year. It's been a lot of fun when we do manage to have a quorum for a meeting. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that we're learning about. I think in a few examples of things that you've managed, that the committee and staff have managed to really demonstrate the bold approach that we've been taking was our challenge a couple of years ago to do something with Oktoberfest. Remember, we were going to end it because too many people came and there wasn't enough room. And we thought, well, if too many people come, maybe it's a good idea to do something new with it. And so you guys did. And now I think the last Oktoberfest was just an amazing day in so many ways. But I think you certainly demonstrated a way that we could kind of give it a rebirth as a festival event, as something for every member of any family, and something certainly makes us a destination for that kind of fall festival. So, though I've happened to have been out of town both times with the Celebrate Gaithersburg Festival, everything seems to be moving according to plan there. So one of the things, it's clear that I think the linkages to defining Gaithersburg as a destination for cultural arts has been pretty important. It certainly benefits our whole economic development approach and strategy, and the whole issue of the quality of life here. But I think it's been a while since the city laid out a master plan or strategic plan for cultural arts in the city. And we talked about this on the committee, that perhaps it's time to revisit that. Now I think we've got a number of great directions that we're moving, the museum programs, the arts programs, but there's still kind of, I think we need to think about what the next level is, what the next stage is as Gaithersburg continues to grow. We're limited in terms of performance space to a couple of places, the Mansion and the Arts Barn. Those are great, very intimate locations for these performances, but we have a Gaithersburg chorus that's been talking about a concert space for years that would be able to seat many more people than either of our two facilities. And in fact, if you put all of the Gaithersburg chorus in the Arts Barn, there wouldn't be any place for people to sit, really. So, our ability to collaborate and cooperate with Asbury and using their auditorium is great. But, the county really doesn't have, the county has Black Rock up here, but it's not that big either. It's about 300 seats, I think. So, I think that in terms of how we look at the overall, in terms of what our offerings are there other partnerships we can explore as we continue to redevelop the city to find a performance space for both dramatic or for plays, readings, and musical events that could stage the chorus as well as any other group that we might have that would attract a sizable audience. I think the county actually is pretty limited in places like that as well. When you consider a county of 1 million people, and there's really only one real fine performing place, and that's the Strathmore, and then there's a stand-up nightclub. Really, literally is set up as a standing room only room, and it holds about 600 people, and that's the Live Nation site in Silver Spring. It actually is kind of strange that a county of 1 million people wouldn't have another facility somewhere in between there. So Anyway, that might be something part of a master or strategic plan and approach to both arts and culture and our expansion of it, but as well as exploring partnerships that could have an impact on our economic development. Then, again, kind of the fabric of the quality that people come to expect when they live here. So, anyway, thanks for all your work. I thought we've got a number of new additions. Our new app, the Arts and Event mobile app, is a great way to find out about things. And I'm looking forward to being at the community chorus the Gaithersburg chorus on December 8th at Asbury, because I'll be out of town on the 12th. But I think the auditorium at Gaithersburg High School is a great place to hear the chorus too. So anyway, thank you very much. I don't really have any questions except, when are we going to get on this plan, I guess. So that's it. It's kind of a rhetorical
I wrote
question.
that down.
I thought of a question, and Rob, if you want to say something, just hold on a sec.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And this isn't something you have to answer this evening, but just food for thought. Is there an advantage to moving Oktoberfest to a Saturday as opposed to a Sunday? I've, in my informal interactions with staff, it seemed like there'd be some advantages to doing it on a Saturday, where you can have programming a little bit later, maybe sort of a keynote concert type thing. And we've done it on a Sunday because that's traditionally when we've done it. But But perhaps there's more opportunity for us if just exploring that idea. Rob, if you want to say something, please go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Judd. Thank you, ladies, for the presentation. It was very, very well received. I think I have more probative questions that I'm going to ask than the mayor. And my first question is, how do you guys do such a great job?
Great volunteers.
And
great volunteers.
Support from the city.
I've only been in the city for a little while now, and I go to most of these events. I especially like Oktoberfest and celebrate Gaithersburg. I think that the city does a great job with the cultural arts, and it really adds to the city and making people want to live here. I really don't have any questions. Actually, I do have one. The after-hour speaker series, and there's one on December 7th with a discussion on alcohol and American history. Whose idea was that to place it at the same time as a mayor and city council meeting? I have a conflict
Let
of
me
interest.
get that back to you on that.
But thank you.
All right. Do we have anyone in the public who would like to speak, has questions, or would like to make a comment on this topic? Not seeing anyone. Well, thank you all for the presentation.
Thank you.
We look forward to more great work, and glad to assist in any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Yvette Monroe. And Maureen, I see Maureen is getting up, so Maureen is going to join her. Maureen Herndon from our Community Services Division. And we are going to talk about, we're going to have an update from our Educational Enrichment Committee.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I too have battling something, so I'm sorry. Thank you for having us. And it's with great pleasure that I am introduce Yvette Monroe as chair of the Educational Enrichment Committee, and she'll take it from here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
No jokes about football tonight.
It's very somber.
Very somber.
For me too.
I'd like to introduce one of our members, Rosanna Aguilar, and she actually is a new member. And
Welcome.
I'm happy to have her here with me tonight.
Thank you.
So thank you. So let's get started. The Education Enrichment Committee. And our mission is to foster a climate of educational excellence, enrichment, and character development within this Gaithersburg community. And there are a couple members here, and former members to be. So I'd just like to introduce them, and they can stand up. Mark, I always get it wrong, Ezrin is here. And a former member, Barbara Kupperman, and future member, Stacy Simon. to thank you guys for coming. And you can see the rest of the list here of our members. Our family and youth challenges. Let's start there. So there's many issues facing the city, as you guys know. Unemployment due to lack of education, due to high school dropout rates, and because people are uneducated and need some assistance, we like to get in on the ground floor and begin helping them at very early levels so that we can reduce unemployment, we can reduce illiteracy, and it's kind of a chain reaction, so we kind of tear up. So this is how we begin, and we just wanted to give you some numbers just so you can look and see what we're dealing with here in the city. And this is why we have tutoring programs, mentoring programs, things like that, mental health programs, so that we can step in early and reduce those rates and those numbers. So the first one is the farm rate, and the averages are by cluster. And so you see the numbers, and I just want to add that Gaithersburg L and Summit Hall have farm rates that top 80%, just so you know. We
Free and
had
reduced meals.
Free and reduced,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
farms, free and reduced meals. In earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, I'm sorry, we had a city-based poverty forum, and there were 80 parents there, and they cited challenges with childcare, housing, jobs, and transportation, and that full report is available for you. And I attended that. It was very interesting. There are very serious concerns, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it. And so we're trying to work all together to address those needs. New is 407 youth have enrolled at Gaithersburg High School in the Wellness Center in 2015. 182 are newly arrived. So we're seeing those numbers increase, and we are working to address them. And then the rest of the things we have seen before. And so these are the ways in the subsequent slides you'll see is how we address these needs that you see on this first page. So we do school grants, schools and nonprofit grants. So the committee oversees the grant program and character counts for the city and works continually to recommend funding and support to meet the residents' challenges. This presentation will take you through each element of the work plan. So we're starting with school grants, we'll go to character counts, advocacy and education, the mayor and council, and then finally building partnerships. So we're starting with our grants, and this year we were happy to say that we awarded $210,000 to 15 area Gaithersburg schools and school nonprofits to support 39 programs serving more than 2,500 students in the areas of academic achievement or enrichment, which are basically homework clubs and things like that. And we've done that notably at several schools, but in Lakeland's middle school. Promotion of positive school environments, and there's a early Head Start program for teen mothers. And out of the 8 city residents that were seniors that went through the program, all of them graduated, and I'm happy to say all of them are enrolled in Montgomery College. So we're pretty proud about that and excited. And then finally, a parent and community engagement, and we have 2 Latino liaisons, both at Watkins Mill and Brown Station Elementary School. In addition to the grants, we continue to incorporate and work on grants orientations for new people who may be coming aboard. This might be their first year filling out applications, so we offer a workshop so that we can help them through the process. And we continue to encourage middle school and high school applications for grant funding and working with a great award, Gaithersburg recognizing educational achievement today. And we have recently just released like Friday, our Great School Opportunity Grant Program. And so that's for emerging or emergency needs that have happened since schools have submitted their grants. So we're anticipating seeing an increase of schools applying for these things and hopefully getting their emerging needs met. And then we continue to work on, and in 2016, in January or that first quarter, hopefully to finish the update of the Education Enrichment page to the website. So in the previous slide, or the first slide, we talked about the challenges. And so these are some of the ways that we work to help address those challenges. Of course, we have the annual Principals Breakfast that you all attend, and thank you for coming out to that event. In the first quarter of this fiscal 16 year, 25 students received mental health counseling services through the new city-funded youth mental health program, but to date, at least 10 of those students are not receiving follow-up psychiatric medical services nor medication due to lack of insurance. So we like to continue to work and help address those needs. Next, we have our Character Counts program, which we oversee. And last year, more than 2,200 students participated in Character Counts monthly activities, the poster and essay contest, and the annual reception. And I would say a few weeks ago, they had the reception, and it was pretty crowded in the rooms in Borough Park. But the parents were so proud. The tears, because I'm thinking they write tear-jerking essays. I mean, just the students work really hard. Their posters are wonderful. It is just a wonderful event. And parents are so proud to come out and hear about their heroes and people who have affected them. So it's a wonderful thing that we like to continue to do. And then, of course, we have our scholarship program. And last year we gave out 7 scholarships totaling a little over $10,000. So we continue to work on that. We're working on best practice models for the website. And more importantly, we need to work on donation expansion for the scholarships. We would like to continue to be, forgive me, because church work, a blessing to the school, but you understand what I mean. We want to help our students all be able to have an opportunity to go to school. Mm-hmm. And our continuing for Character Counts, continuing increased outreach and partnerships to support for interdepartmental staff meetings to discuss various elements of Character Counts across the city, to promote best practice models, and to assist with citywide celebration of the program's 20th anniversary this year. Wow. So we'd like to have a big party. Next is our advocacy and education. And this year, unlike last year, was a very huge and continues to be a huge issue for all of us. It stays in the front of our mind. So we're continuing active participation and partnerships with the members of the Youth Opportunities Commission, which is all youth providers together. We continue coordination with the City Youth Service Division. Mm-hmm. And we're working with the newly formed Gaithersburg Coalition for Advocacy for Schools, which is a group of people that have come together to mobilize a coalition of parents, school community, and stakeholders to advocate for our Gaithersburg area schools. So we're pretty proud about that, and we all went down in our green shirts and had testimony for the Board of Ed, and it was really wonderful to see the support of this community together for our schools. So we'll continue to work with MCPS and the nonprofits and the Gaithersburg Financial Wellness Coalition for initiatives in the school. And we're working with our partnerships with Universities of Shady Grove, Montgomery College, and the Gaithersburg Chamber of Commerce. And I remember last year Henry talked about a tech school up in this area, and we have not forgotten. we've researched that, and we will continue to research that because I think it's a terrific idea. There is one down county, but there's not anything up here. Not everybody is a straight from high school, go to college person. So I remember growing up, Maura and I went to high schools not too far from one another, and there was a VOTEC school, and it was just wonderful. So I'd like to see something like that happen in this area. So we haven't forgotten you, so we will continue to research that. And I've got music too. Just for the USG and MC partnership clarification, joint education events for city parents and high schoolers, we want to make that possible for them. And then finally, support staff participation in a series of neighborhood outreach events that are going to happen in the spring of this 2016 with the police and youth services. And I have this scoop of where they're going to be. It's going to be between March and May of next year in the following locations. So Summer Hall, Boer Park area, the Robertson Youth area, the Festival Shopping Center, and finally the Old Town Youth Center and the Gaithersburg Middle, that little field there. So that'll be attended. They'll have financial wellness people there, food, games, lots of fun, and partnering with schools so we can see where our kids are and address those needs for them. And this is my favorite slide. We want to continue to foster communication, of course, between you guys. And I know last year we had a liaison removed from our committee. So I'm going to smile nicely and say that I would love to have a liaison back with the Education Enrichment Committee. We all work together. We're working for the same goal, particularly, like I said, in this time, in this cluster that we're, I don't want to say fighting, but we're working, advocating strongly together for our kids and having fun, safe, encouraging learning environments. So I would love to have someone. Okay, if I promise you breakfast and coffee, you don't have to come every month.
So if I could just speak to that, the reason why we made the decision we made was because a lot of what the committee does is related to a recommendation of grant funding. And the recommendation comes to the mayor and council, and so it's a strange position for the liaison to be at that meeting as part of this recommendation process, and then be on the receiving end of that recommendation. That if the meetings are no longer mostly or largely about that, then it would make sense to have a liaison. But that was the thinking. It wasn't any slight on the committee whatsoever.
Perfect. Okay.
We all believe in the work of the committee and are thrilled with it. I mean, I believe I'm speaking for everybody.
No, yeah, I agree. That I think I was the last liaison, and that was my recommendation, is because most of the meetings that I was able to attend, we were always dealing with budget issues, and if that's going to come before the council, it didn't make sense for me to participate in one discussion and then have another discussion here. At NIH, where I work, when you do something like that, it's considered a conflict of interest. Right. So to avoid that, it was easier to say, I mean, you guys keep doing the good work that you're doing, and we'll talk about it when it comes to the council. And so it wasn't meant that it wasn't useful information or anything else like that. It's just that that's where your focus was, and so it made more sense to let you do that, and then we'll keep track. I think one of the alternatives might be is that you might provide regular reports to the council on a monthly basis or something, or a quarterly basis of what you're working on and the issues that you might be thinking about. But we're probably jumping ahead of the report here. Or
set aside one meeting per year, or maybe a couple meetings per year at which you're not going to be discussing the grant recommendations, and invite us, and then whoever is available, I'm sure will be glad to come.
The grant recommendations is usually like the January to beginning of April slot, so it might have been somewhat of a timing thing on that. But the rest of the year, as you can see from the presentation, they're doing a lot of different things and a lot of different areas, the school supply drive, the great recognition, researching. So maybe we should look at the calendar too, because it's primary, like they're going to be going out, you know, in the next 3 weeks. So just January, February, March, probably some of April will be around the grants, but the rest, you know, isn't so
Great.
much. So maybe
Let's
we
set
can
aside a couple of
compromise.
dates
Okay.
and send out the invitation. I'm sure you'll get some of us there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And continue
I
our
would like
conversation.
to, I'd like to introduce something too. Is I want to take it a step further. You were talking about, you know, I've been talking about this vocational. I've reached out to the Chamber of Commerce and to a couple of people at the college. And so what I suggest you do is to, and maybe Maureen, you need to take the lead on this, is a form of subcommittee. I've talked to you about, you know, we've dabbled around. It's time to put up or shut up, and I'm ready to put up. So why don't you form a subcommittee? I'll be glad to be the liaison, volunteer on the committee, and let's see if we can't get this. Everybody's interested, but we just need to get some momentum, and I'd like us to be the momentum on vocational training. And the chamber was interested in meeting with us, a couple of people at the college, but we haven't put anything together. I've just talked to people individually and said I was trying to work with everybody, but let's get it formalized. Excuse me. So if you'll form some sort of a subcommittee and set some meetings, I'll be glad to attend.
Well,
and you know,
what would our role be? Like, are we running vocational classes, or
no? We
how
were
do you
just
envision
coordinating, putting everybody together to enhance through this committee our role as a leader, because it's one of those things where, you know, the colleges are doing some nice things, the chamber wants to do some nice things. We talk about it, but we need some leadership, and so. Let's, you know, since we're doing all these other things, let's us take the leadership, and I'll be glad to take that burden. I've volunteered to do it, and I'm, you know,
We should talk about it more, but we, you know, that has one slide left, so we should let her.
All right, we'll continue on that subject. Go ahead.
Thank you. And then lastly, thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Partnership building and school support. So we're reconfirming our commitment to all of these, but in particular, I'd like to talk about liaisons, and I have not mentioned that in detail. Each member is asked to be a liaison to one of their 10% schools, and just a few things that the liaisons do is in the beginning of the year you initiate a school visit and you meet with the administrators, you talk with them, introduce yourself, you act as a point of contact along with the committee regarding school, city questions, relay information about the grant process, school needs, any gaps, attend one PTA meeting a year if possible, relay any challenges they may be having. Sometimes it comes up that they need more school supplies, they might need more interpretation at meetings or events, things like that. And coordinate a site visit for the Grants in Action, those programs that we fund, see what those are about. And then just volunteer to represent EEC when we're at different community events or city-sponsored events. So that's pretty much the role of the liaisons. As you probably know, I've said it a million times, Brown Station is my school. I probably will not give it up. I purchased a brick the other day at their event, which was really wonderful. They had a walkthrough for, they're about to be RevX, so they had a walkthrough for the community, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful to see not children like my grandchildren's age, but older adults reconnecting, seeing friends that they hadn't seen in a very long time, and just, oh my gosh, there's so-and-so and so-and-so, and seeing their children that go to the school, and they had wonderful activities and everything, and it was just a wonderful time. So shout out shamelessly to Brown Station, but they put together a wonderful program, and so we're looking forward to their school when it is done in 2017. But just continue to be there for the school. So if they have questions, and sometimes they do have questions about little things or they don't know about events that are going on in the cities that their parents can participate in and be involved with. That's what the liaisons are there for. And so we had a model, and Barbara Kupperman, who's over to my right, she was our model person, always available for her schools, just being there, writing reports. They knew they could depend on her, and so that's what we're trying to encourage our liaisons to be. And so along with that, continuing the principal's breakfast and PTA appreciation, working and collaborating on our wish list with the schools and fostering just support, just total support. And so the last thing I just like to say is thank you for your support, and thank you for all that you do for our students at our Gaithersburg schools.
Thank you very much, Yvette. And thank you, Rosanna, for being with us this evening. I agree. I was at the Brown Station event on Saturday. It was quite a moving, wonderful event where I reconnected with a lot of people from way back when. It was great. I hear so often that Gaithersburg, the city of Gaithersburg, has a unique and productive relationship with our school system. And when I say unique, I use it in the true sense that MCPS does not really have a relationship like this, and other school systems tend not to have relationships like this with the municipality. We take a lot of pride in our programs. I think that your committee in particular, given this period of time of need for capital facilities, I saw people from your committee very active in front of the Board of Ed and strategizing behind the scenes to try to advocate as best we can, and we really appreciate it, and I know the community really appreciates it. I just want to get back on the technical school idea, the vocational school. Would our role ultimately be, in this case, be as an advocate to try to bring the colleges together to run programs like this, or to do something in conjunction with MCPS? What if all our dreams came true tomorrow on this? What would our role be?
Well, let me tell you what I've suggested over the years, and I talked to them about it a couple of times. In my role with National League of Cities, I visited a couple places that do a really nice program. And what the city did was sort of more coordinating, like through a committee like this. And the schools presented a program, and then they had the Chamber of Commerce provided jobs. And then we were there basically to oversee it and say, you talk to them, and here's what we think, and here's how we mix. And so having that role in facilitating people getting together and then we take a leadership and say, we're helping our kids, and we want to help them get jobs. Not everybody's going to go to college, and it doesn't mean they're not going to go to college. It just means they can get a job. And I fall back on two things. One is I visited a couple of those places with the National League, but also I participated when I went to Wheaton High School. Wheaton High School, when it first built, was the first new high school built in Montgomery County. I hate to tell you how old I am, but it was the first new school, and it had a big vocational program. And I laugh about it, but it was a very serious business. There's 12 of us that still pal around, that all went through vocational training, that owned our own companies. And that's how important it is. 9 out of 10 of them all went to college. Doesn't mean you don't go to college, but there was an opportunity. I was making more money when I was in, my first year in college than, half my friends were graduated. And those are the things that we need to bring. And it seems that, and if you look at nowadays, and if you go back and look at the newspaper, we have a lot of kids that just coming out of college that have no job skills. And the headline every day is that there's more and more of that. They go and they take these courses, and they think they're going to be, get a college education to go to work. But unless you have the skills to compete, you're not going to make it. And that's so I think this committee really could take a nice role and coordinate. The chamber would like to get involved, and they control the jobs. So it's kind of a real neat kind of a meshing we can put together. So
could I make one suggestion, Pat? Like looking back on some other programs that are becoming successful and have been successful, like Character Counts and the Financial Wellness Coalition and Bank On. And one of the first things we might want to do, Henry, is get like the folks that you know, the potential stakeholders, and the folks that we work with through the vocational programs for adults, and just kind of sponsor a get-together and throw this issue out on the table, see who's interested, see where the connections could be made. And then I think after we kind of gather that information, we can determine potentially what would be a city role. We want to limit the city role and all of that. But I think as a committee, could definitely pull off and work on getting those prime stakeholders together as a first step.
Well, that's my
To
whole
see
point.
what
I have
people
names, you
we can
have
do.
names,
Right, we
and nobody's,
can
nobody's
definitely
talking to
commit
each
to
other. So let's get them to talk to
do
each
that
other.
first and
That's
gather
what our
some more
role would be.
information. That'd be great.
All right.
So I don't, I don't disagree with that. I think this is it's a worthy goal, but it really is, this is a pretty big expansion in scope in terms of what the committee has been doing
Well,
historically.
we only
The
committed to
focus
the
has been-
meeting. You didn't hear. So we're still in our scope.
Yeah, you're one committee, and I think just pointing out the liaison, that each committee
yeah.
member is a liaison to multiple
We've had that a
schools, that's an
while.
enormous load that you're asking from your volunteers. And so to add this to the scope of work of the committee, I think is pretty considerable. So I think what we actually need is as I suggested with the cultural arts, is kind of a priority setting and planning, master planning of what we want the committee to do now, continue doing, and what we might want the committee to do in the future. And I think that right now this idea of vocational training extends beyond from, I think, the edge of your responsibility in terms of dealing with MCPS to the other things that are the Community Services Division does in the city. And there's an economic development component here. There's an educational component. There's partnership components with the chamber, with the Montgomery College. So it's another level, and I'm not sure that we have a big enough committee to do this and continue to do the good work that you're doing. But I think on the other hand, we still need to set some priorities and figure out, what's the future? Are we just going to keep doing what we've been doing, or are we going to try doing some new things and creative things? I think with the number of things on your plate now, it's hard to think about what you're going to do new, but you have managed, I give it to the committee, the committee's managed to expand some things and do some new things differently and change some things up. The whole grant process is improved. The principals and counselors breakfast has been, that whole thing has changed as well, and I think for the good. But I still think we need to think about how we're going to do all of these things that we want to do, and how many people it's going to take to help you do it. Because the other end of this is, I think, the city's going to have to figure out how to staff some of these things that we do as well. And so we need to look at this. Maybe coming up at the strategic planning session, we'll be able to talk about some of these things. But so that's my major issue, and I don't know that you guys talked about it. I mean, the other linkages that we talked about and the benefits that the city does in direct interaction with the EEC is the book festival events. We've got the Mayor's Reading Club, and we've got book club, and we've got the essay contest that has impact on primary ages as well as high school. The opportunity grants really help us address a lot of needs, but are there gaps? And I guess that's what that's the whole point of addressing gaps. And then finding donors, we have to work in partnership with our economic development group as well. So, but it's amazing how much work you guys do and do it successfully. So I want to thank all the members of the committee. And there's been some members of the committee that have been on the committee longer than I've been on the council. They were on the committee before I was elected, and then they've continued, so I'm glad to see that. But you've also had some recent turnover, so replacing those people and getting them up to speed is a difficult task. But I think there's lots of opportunities for people out there to participate in this and have a direct, perhaps some of the most direct impact that any volunteer can have in their local neighborhood is getting involved with their schools, whether it's through PTA or through our committee. So, and in fact, I like to remind people that really the way Judd and I got started in this, and probably Henry as well, is we were pretty active in our PTAs. when our kids were young. And that's not necessarily the path to an elected office, but it's a path to getting engaged and getting involved. So I think other people can look at that as well. So thanks for all your hard work, and let's talk about some kind of planning exercise so we can think about how we keep moving everything forward that you're doing so well, and keep doing the things that we've been doing well, keep those going as well.
Thank you. And I just want to say our committee is just comprised of teachers and former administrators, retired teachers, people like myself, parents, and PTA members like yourself started in PTA. So we've got a good rounded number of people in all aspects of education, and we're almost full. So we're almost at our max. So that's exciting. So at least for me it is.
No, it is exciting, and it's great to see people stepping up as other people have to move on or retire or something else.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Anyone else?
I think on the idea of vocational training, it's interesting because vocational training is or has been essential. It's something that's not as emphasized in Montgomery County Public Schools these days. However, I think my focus would be that it not be a mandate from the City Council to the committee, that it's something that the committee wants to take on and feels it's within their scope. So I'd ask you to give some hard thought to the idea whether it's something that exists within the scope of the Educational Enrichment Committee and something that the membership can support and pursue. Because I hear what Henry's saying, and I'm intrigued again, but I also hear what Mike is saying with respect to not expanding the committee beyond what it was originally intended to do, and to perhaps overwork the staff and the volunteers that put forth their own effort and time for the community. More general comments. I attended recently a meeting with GCAS. It was over in the Kentlands mansion, and I saw individuals from GCAS down at the MCPS CIP testimony. In fact, I was wearing one of their shirts while Mayor Ashman was giving his testimony. I must confess that when I first heard of GCAS, I didn't know what the acronym stands for. It stands for Gaithersburg Coalition for the Advocacy for Schools. Maybe there's too many fours there. But when I first heard of GCAS, I thought it stood for Gaithersburg Cluster for Advocacy for Schools. And that's what it kind of appeared to me going forward. I commend the efforts of the organization, but what I would like to see, perhaps, is it more focus on Gaithersburg as a whole. And so we have 3 clusters that are serviced by within the boundaries of Gaithersburg City, and I think that it is something, that GCAS is something wonderful. I think it can be something wonderful, but I think it needs to embrace not just 1 or 2 clusters. It's a good opportunity for the city to get behind the city residents regardless of cluster boundaries. Since we're talking about Brown Station, I'll point out I'm also big on Brown Station because my child will be attending in at least a few years, and I'm a member of the PTA there. There's a lot of wonderful things going on at Brown Station, including the RevX and the new school and the principal and the teachers and just the involvement of the community there. One program that is being explored now by the PTA, I'll throw it out to you now if you haven't heard of it, because the parents there are trying to pursue engaging the school and getting it addressed through the school, but I think it's something the city could get behind as well. As you know, Yvette, Brown Station has a very high ESOL rate. I think it's upwards of 45%, and some folks see that as a minus for the school, whereas I think the parents there see it as a plus. And so one of the programs that the parents are talking about is what's called a dual language program in English and Spanish, and it's something that is not really known in Montgomery County. In fact, one of the biggest programs is in Prince George's County. We've got some immersion schools down county, but there's no real dual language program that has been identified to me in the county, and I think that it's something that is a gap in what MCPS is providing, and I think the gaps are what the city's Education and Enrichment Committee is geared towards, is filling in what the county will or cannot do. So I commend the committee to look into that and see what kind of support we can give to that program or any other programs that the various schools come up with here in the city so that we can support those gaps, those needs. But I would commend to you that we really need to think about education enrichment. We need to think about what the city can do to support its residents on a citywide basis rather than on a cluster basis, which is what I think MCPS and perhaps the MCC PTA look at it as.
If I could just say one thing.
Go ahead.
So for GCAS, it is a citywide, it's not a cluster-wide. So again, if I could just read, it's to mobilize a coalition of parents, school, and community stakeholders to advocate for Gaithersburg area schools. So that's all the clusters in Gaithersburg.
And it is a grassroots effort that members of the Education Committee have chosen to participate in and support, but it's not directly part of the mission of the Education Committee.
Yeah, I'll just say, as many of you know, I served on the Educational Enrichment Committee before I joined the City Council back when it was just called the Education Committee. Now it's about enrichment too, which is good. But it's just an outstanding committee, and having sat through years ago the sort of the grind of going through all of the different grant applications with limited resources and the agonizing decisions about all these good programs that there are out there to support with our limited resources. I sort of know firsthand the work that you all do. It's obviously evolved quite a bit since I've been on the committee, but it's such an important job. And I think the mayor was right when he said that our relationship to the schools is unique among municipalities, not only through the grant program, but through all these other programs and efforts and the liaisons and everything else we do to build relationships and partnerships with the schools and the nonprofits and the business community. And it's just a tremendous amount of incredible benefit that you all provide to our students and their families. And I'm really proud of the work that you all do, so keep it up. And I do have to give a specific shout out to the staff, Maureen and her team, who support the committee. You all just do so much with the limited resources that you have, and thank you for all the continued work you do. And then, as Judd was kind of alluding to, you continue to grow, and as Mike was specifically alluding to, you continue to grow and add programs and add work onto what you've already been doing over the years without necessarily growing your staff or growing your committee, and that's really commendable as well. And I think rightly so, this committee has an outstanding reputation, not just within the city, but around the area. And I hope you'll keep it up and know that you have the support of this mayor and council.
Thank you.
I have one other thing, and it's a little bit of a pet peeve, and I think Henry will agree with me, is that we actually, Gaithersburg students go to 5 clusters. 2 of them you don't talk about because they're less than 10%. But one of them is a neighborhood that both Henry and I live in, and it's the only school in the entire city in which I think the entire enrollment of that school is in the city limits of Gaithersburg, and that's Diamond Elementary. So we're engaged in that cluster as well.
Diamond, we put them in, they're in 2 clusters, Diamond.
They're in 2 clusters, right.
So on
but
our
still,
official listings and all, we put them in the cluster.
I just think it's important when we talk
what
about
you're saying.
when we talk about our schools and the clusters that we're involved in. I think we also need to talk about Wooten, because we have students in the Wooten cluster as well. So just a little reminder about that. And certainly we've had students from Northwest High School and that cluster that have participated in some of our events and competitions, and certainly benefit from that, but we don't provide any grants to those schools because they're less than 10%. I think it's important that we remember that that's where our kids go to. So,
Yeah, we tend to call out the ones that are 10% or more, so they
Right.
fall into the clusters you're saying, then Diamond is included in our eyes that way, but I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. We'll make note.
so.
Thank you. And the Watkinsville cluster also.
That's right.
Well,
That-
you
well,
did
we got
mention that.
that.
That was one of the 3. So you talk about Gaithersburg, Quince Orchard, and Watkins Mill. So anyway, just
So,
a little
go ahead.
point, just a minor point.
Do we have anyone in the public who'd like to speak or questions? Yes. Well, wait. We need.
Microphone.
Dennis has the microphone.
Mark Ezra, and I live in the Lakelands community. I just want to clarify something for Robert, that there are actually immersion language programs in MCPS, especially for elementary school. The difference is they're geared not towards ESOL, but sort of a magnet-type program. There's a Mandarin, French, I believe Spanish and German, but there's at least 3. Maryvale hosts one as an example, but they're, again, not geared toward ESOL students as much as a magnet program that you apply to where the instruction is done in another language and it's not necessarily for a native speaker of that language.
Yeah, understood, Mark. There's a difference between immersion programs and dual language programs.
You use the word immersion as well, though, so I just wanted to...
I thought I said they are immersion programs in MCPS. There are no dual language programs. The only official one is in Prince George's County, I understand. So, but thank you for bringing that up.
Any other speakers? All right, not seeing any. Thank you for all that you've done and continue to do in your presentation. I do think it's worth at least having the one meeting on the vocational idea and seeing what comes out of that. And if what comes out of it, if what it would take to make something move forward would be beyond the capacities of this committee, then we can discuss maybe recruiting an ad hoc or something like that. But I think it's worth exploring, particularly since you guys put it on your own. I mean, Henry's been pushing the idea, but you also brought it up on your PowerPoint. It's worth the one meeting. Thank you, and next week we have another work session with more committee updates. I forget the list of committees that are giving us updates next Monday, but that will be up on the city website shortly. And the next regular meeting of the Mayor and Council is December 7th. On behalf of the council, we wish our whole community a happy Thanksgiving, and remind everyone that our Winter Lights attraction opens to cars on Friday after Thanksgiving. So until next time, let's do great things and have a great time, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.